Oliver, of the 4 years I've been interviewing you since you last elected, one of the classic problems is what we see exactly right behind us on London Road, a huge Arctic parked on the pavement and half on the road. How are you going to solve this problem?
Absolutely, Michael. This is just absolutely crucial for the area of South Stifford. I think it's something that residents have put up with for years, and really we've been very determined to try and tackle that. So as you will have seen, there's now a concrete set of actions taking place from the council. We're in final stages of consulting on an HGV ban on London Road, lifting the weight limit on Devonshire Road, and I think as soon as that goes through in the early stages of a Labour council, if we're returned, I think there's going to bring vast improvements to the area. I think the sort of things that you've seen behind me today are the sort of things that we're really going to hope to clamp down on very heavily.
Because, day in, day out, anybody walks or drives down here sees young mums going to the primary schools, and indeed somebody going shopping there. How on earth they're going to have to go in the middle of a busy road?
Absolutely. I mean, I think just looking at the situation logically, a road like London Road is not designed for lorries. It's got pavements that are very close to the road, houses where there's a huge number of houses with direct frontage onto London Road. And if you compare that to a road like Devonshire Road, where there's no direct frontage, there are relatively wide roads, wide pavements. Even if you just look at the safety aspects, it's much safer to send the volumes of lorries down Devonshire Road rather than the 1,500 or so vehicle movements a day that the South Stifford traffic study said we were seeing in London Road.
Obviously we're taking this as something of an opportunity as we're here right now, but what else has come up here we are out and about? What's come up on the doorstep?
It's been an interesting mix this year. I think we've had obviously the issues of traffic and lorries, which are always of prime importance to people in South Stifford and West Thurrock, but also we've had issues about housing repairs that we're fighting hard to try and improve. We've had issues around parking, especially in some of the new estates in West Thurrock, and again I'm really getting involved now to try and to improve the situation for them, and of course issues with antisocial behaviour that we're working with the police to try and improve some of the presence of the police in areas, especially in West Thurrock. I mean, you'll have seen too that we've had the demolition of the Fox and Goose, which has slightly surprised a lot of residents, and I've got to say it surprised me as well. But I'm very pleased that I'll hopefully have a meeting very shortly with Hollybrook, who are the owners of the site, and try and put to them some of residents' concerns and some of the ideas that residents have for what they want to do with the site.
Because some people said about the Fox and Goose the place of deep historical significance.
Well, I mean, I think what's a real shame is we start to see a lot of the development in West Thurrock, and there does have to be some development. We don't want to lose some of the more traditional character of the area. We don't want to lose some of the real amenities. So, I mean, from my point of view, I'd love to see something put back into that space that the community can use, that's a positive space, that maybe brings a little bit more amenity back to the site. And some residents have said, maybe even just a local Tesco's or something to bring something to the community. But I'll obviously be talking to local residents very carefully and putting to the owners of the site what local residents want to see happen.
You've been a councillor now for 4 years, you're our portfolio holder. We're not here to talk about portfolio. You still enjoy being a ward councillor? I do. And actually, you talk about being a portfolio holder. I think one of the most gratifying things about that is when you see some of the implications of the decisions that you take as a portfolio holder really on the ground in your ward. So we see the new classroom block now in Purfleet Primary School. We see all of the classrooms fully open in West Thurrock Primary, and a real change in the outputs from each of those schools. I mean, especially if you take Purfleet Primary, the new head there, fantastic, Debbie Henley, doing a lot of work with the school to try and bring up standards. And I think it's great when you see the impact of your portfolio on people's lives in the ward. So I think it's incredibly rewarding still. Cheers. There's a lot of new housing developments, that have come along the way. How do you engage those people to be part of the Thurrock community, as opposed to, I guess, just people who commute? Well, I think the key thing is that people living in some of the new areas have, a set of problems, just as everyone living in the rest of the ward has a set of problems. So, for example, very recently I was in some of the new school field developments in West Thurrock, where there's frankly a vastly inadequate provision for parking. And I've been working very hard with residents there to try and make sure that, from the council's point of view and tackling Barrett's, we can really start to make a difference on resolving some of those issues. So I think the approach to new residents and to new areas is exactly the same as the approach to old residents and old areas of the ward. We've got to engage with the community, tackle the issues they want tackling, and really make sure that we're improving the community for all.